Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Friday. It's February 27th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And really, it's just a trading range day. We spent all of the basic trading day in this between 2106 and 2111. So 5 point trading range. Um, it really had two tiers. We spent the first part of the morning and the overnight in the lower tier. Then the rest of the late morning into the lunch hour into the upper tier, and then we traded down. Once we went through here, um, I would have been looking for a measured move, and you can see it's basically almost a perfect. There's your upper tier, and there's your lower tier, and where does it bounce? Exactly there, and then it heads back up again. So um, in the end, there did look like there was a kind of a mid tier on the second part as well, what I call a midline. Um, but it really was after, I didn't see any trades. It was up 2 o'clock before I saw anything worth taking again, which is when we came back to notice this channel working down through here. We had a nice channel here. Mostly I traded the shorter term ones today, and they tend to keep you on the right side more often when it's like this. Just remember, and this is a key part, so make sure you hear this part, is that you've got to be really careful uh, following these shorter term trend lines when they run directly into the strong support or resistance of the bigger range, because the range is the bigger pattern here. These are just shorter term trends within, and you don't, even though most of the time today we got the break and a new high before it reversed, you don't always get that. So just remember that. And the reason being is that if the channel or a trend trades right up into this strong resistance, you won't have room to get a break and get a new high, because everybody recognizes the strong resistance and they're selling. And so um, I hope that makes sense. But just like right here, notice we traded it in and straight on down through that strong support there. But we still got a break outside and then a new low there. So that's not really a good example of it. And there's not really one today. Most of the channels you had a break and a move to a new extreme on a retest. Um, Here's one more maybe we didn't. Notice this shorter term one working down through here off of the trend line. And notice we got the close outside. We tried to make a new low, and we eventually did, but it took a while because we had to work back through. That was the overnight low, so that's going to be a strong support area. And so that's kind of an example of it. Even though we did eventually get the new low, we actually got, but that was the break of the bigger channel. And then notice there's two legs down, one leg, a little correction, then a second leg down, probably measured, two measured legs down. Let's just measure it and see. Just eyeballing it, looks real close. Now we came up a little short there, you can see. Few ticks, but that's because we reached the measured move compared to this channel up here. And also notice on this channel that we had a failed break lower, and then we climbed up and had a failed break higher, and then sold off again. This is real typical once you get around these century marks that we just passed through the 2100 in the last few trading days, and so we've stayed above it. It continues to act as support, but it doesn't surprise me that we're testing it multiple times, because that's kind of the way it'll work. We're really digesting some of this move that we've had up, have been for a couple of days. But overall, things just continue to be a little slower, and it seemed like there was, in the overnight, it looked like it's going to be another one of those real low volume days, but once we got going, there's some decent volume in here. Not any real big move until late morning. This was a pretty nice trend down, but there were some really nice moves up as well. So, um, but anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades, and for the most part, I know this looks a little messy, but you need to have this. You need to have all the stuff on there, and as you're trading during the day, you can take it off so your chart's not so messy if it tends to, look, um, hard to, if it's hard for you to really visualize things with all the lines on there. The ones that probably really, the ones of you that used to look at this, probably no big deal. But if you're new to price action, you're probably thinking, man, that's a messy chart. But it doesn't have to be this messy. I just have to put it all on there to show it to you. So understand that. When I came in, it looked like a trading range. We were working off the lows, heading higher. Um, I like this one only because it was a trap. This was right after the open, and they trapped everybody short. And notice how we had that little pushback right there, and it looked like we were going to come down off the high. This is why I always tell people, wait on a good second entry. We weren't really up to the highs yet, although we were finding resistance in here. But it's that double test rule of that area. And you figure prices are probably going to test the overnight high. And the most important thing is we got a little channel working up here, and that's the first break of it. And then they trapped people to the short side right after the open, and it turned up. It was good for a scalp. Nothing, you actually got a few extra ticks, but nothing more. And then it looked like we had a two-tiered channel working down, which I believe we did. But this is more rangy looking. This is more of a range type pattern, even up to this point. Even if you move this over, you can kind of see it looks more like a range. And notice the failed break out the top, the failed break out the bottom. And then we continue to work high. And I also noticed this, once we had this measured move and we bounced right here with that double bottom, this higher double bottom, that was my target. And look where we went. And that's also right up here to the previous high of the day. And we missed that within one tick. And so that was a great target this morning. Took us right to it, and easy to find pretty much. So, and notice too, here's those two legs down. There's one leg right here. Even though that's kind of choppy, that's a leg down. Then you get a little correction. And this is really kind of like a two-legged correction with the second move being all in one leg. And then we had the big sell-off. And so that's your second leg down. And it went on through there. There's a breakout pullback short there, but I think it's a little risky entering. And you might have still been short if you took this short up here, because you actually should have still been short. You might have considered exiting there, especially when this started looking that way. But look, you would have given up another point or two. So anyway, I like this because of the double test trap rule, and really thought we'd go all the way up. We didn't, and that's the first break of this little channel that's working up. And that, even though that's not much of a move up, it's been going. Let me show you this. I mean, we started moving up at a little before 4 o'clock, so that's 4.5 hours. We've been trading up for 4.5 hours. Yeah, it's choppy and it looks rangy looking, but we've still been heading up for 4.5 hours. And so when you get that short trap, you probably figure you're going to push on up and make another leg up, which we do. It doesn't turn out to be a full move up. That was your first leg, and so you would have considered maybe a measured move being right here. We missed it by a couple of ticks. But notice the resistance. We really had a double top across there, and it breaks higher and fails. And the only reason I like this one is because of the big bearish reversal bar. And you didn't really have a whole lot of time to enter this thing. You may not have gotten into it because notice that those bars don't overlap. This closed on its very bottom. But I already had my stop there, hoping this was going to break higher. And when it started turning down, notice the break, and we got the leg up, move up. And this is a big reversal bar. And so if it would have went out that bar all in the same bar, I liked it for a short anyway. And so I already had my stop there. And so by being kind of anticipating it, you would have caught that. But if you waited to that to complete and put it in there, you may not have got in that trade. It might have taken off without you. And if you missed that one, that was a really good one. It's close to, normally I would tell you I'd want to wait on a second entry off that high, but the reason I like this one is because it's that failed break. Just like we had a failed break lower down here, notice all the matching highs across there. If you bring this line down, you can see that. That's that failed break higher, and it just shoots, it turns down instantly almost and goes the other way. So I really like that setup there and that big bearish bar. And it really shot off quickly. So it probably trapped a lot of people up here. You should have been thinking of going higher at this point, but when it didn't go any higher and reverses after this break, then, you know, guess what? You're probably going lower. And this does almost look like the range right here. And going back just one more time, that makes you a little leery to enter this one. And the only reason, again, that I didn't make it green or maybe even skip it was because of that double test trap right there, right at the open. You tend to see that a lot. And the price action says you're going to try to make a new high, so I liked it to the upside first. But when it quickly reversed on that break higher, you got to go short with it. So that was two quick trades, a little quick, and this one had runners that were worth several points. And this was a really good move down. So hopefully you recognize that and saw it. But if you didn't, I mean, I'm just going to tell you, it's been tough lately. So if you've been struggling more than maybe you had in the past month, don't let it get to you. I mean, it's been tough lately. You just have to, you have to almost anticipate what's coming. And if you can't, it can get really hard other than buying the lows and selling the highs. And usually you need to wait on something proven. And a lot of times you'll miss some trades by waiting, but you just about have to wait. And just remember, once prices come off the low, where are they likely headed to the high? When they turn off the high, where are they likely headed back to the low? So just remember that. And if you draw those shorter term trend lines, they tend to keep you on the right side. And notice this one coming down. You get a little close outside right here. It's like a little breakout pullback short. And this was tempting to enter, but I felt we'd moved way too far. And it did go enough to get you a good trade out of it, but look how quickly it bounced and reversed. And it was tempting to go long right here. In fact, it's real close to being green. Again, it was a little hard to switch gears if you were managing a runner coming down through here. But if you were sitting here on the sidelines waiting for something to happen, it would be hard not to go long right there. And I think it was okay because there's enough room back to the EMA. So I think I will go ahead and mark it green. So let's just go ahead and mark that one green because it went lower first and then turned and went out the high side. The only thing that's scary about it too is once that little doji close there, that makes you wonder, but you're still not back to the EMA. And so there's a chance it maybe tries to tick lower a tick or so and then turns back up, but it didn't. It just kept going higher, and it turned out to be a pretty quick move. But notice this. You actually had a failed second entry short right there, but this previous support is acting as resistance. And so I thought it was a little risky, but when it tried to go lower again and failed and turned up, I liked going long that time because now you've really got people trapped to the short side, people that were looking at this as a breakout pullback short, that kind of thing. And we did have a close outside here and a move to a new high, but you have to remember this is a range day and prices are probably going to try to go back into the range and go high. You don't know that's what's going to happen, but you got to be really careful going short right here when you just had a break and barely had a move to a new high. Although that is a huge bearish looking reversal bar. You know, it's real tempting. And you actually might have even gone long there because of the failed. Notice this new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. And that's what they did. It was a short trap that is what I call almost a double trap because it didn't take off, so they brought it lower again and they tricked some more into getting short, and then they turned it up. And then look how it burst up in one bar right there. That's generally caused. That's generally a good sign that they got a lot of people short that have to exit real quick. And a lot of these people that got short that are still hanging on trying to get more out of it have to exit or they're going to end up with nothing. And that's why this thing burst higher. That's one of the reasons why it burst higher like that. You generally know if you got a good trap by that happening. And then we shot on up, and this one was tempting here to go short, and it would have worked, and it was okay to go short there. But it's such a big bar, there's just no way to get in it. And look at all the overlap right there. I felt it was just really, really risky with this being a range day and this just being kind of the midpoint with this high up here. And even though it would have worked, I just don't think it was worth risking. I think you were better off to wait. And see if it doesn't create a trap, and guess what? That's exactly what it does. You move down, it pulls back, and it tries to go lower again, and look how it went back below the EMA. So everybody's thinking short. It's not paying attention to what's going on right here. It realizes we're back inside the trading range, and this has been support. Look at it acting as resistance across here, and now it's, even though we're pushing through there, look how everything's closing way up here. That's telling you something, and it's telling you that you don't need to be getting short into that. And in fact, you probably want to look for a long, because it's probably going to reverse prices. And guess what? It does. So I liked going long there. This is a higher double bottom than this. It's back inside the range. They're trying to trap people short. That big move down probably got a lot of people short. And even if they, not everybody's a scalper. So some of them are going to trying to pick up a longer, they're trying to get in to hold on. And you can't do that on a day like this. That's why this strategy works so well in the ES, our strategies, because we know that we don't hang on very long. You try to get what you can get out of it. If it's a trend day, by all means, get on there and hold on as long as you can. But when it's ranging every day, especially a 5-point range, you're not going to do anything that day. Hanging on will just probably cost you. So anyway, I liked going long there. Another nice move up. Pull back, second entry long, right off the EMA, right at the midpoint. This is kind of like a breakout pullback long. You want to wait on that second entry, and it's an inside bar, but it's really bullish. Look how everything closed right at the EMA. This closed back above your little midline where most of your resistance was. You might have moved this up there, and then it looks like it's right at it. But it's still a real bullish bar, and look where the high is. But look where the overnight high is. You're probably going to test that. And then also remember what we talked about earlier, is that we had a measured move up, and then you had that little two-legged correction in there. And so we're looking for a move up that corresponds with those highs. And so that's another reason to think about it. Plus, on top of that, this is the first close outside this little channel working up. And you did get an overshoot there. So that leads you to think you might get one here and then go push higher to get your new high. It got a little iffy right in here, but you should have been out by then regardless. But if you were working any runners, you might have exited there, because there is resistance there. But notice how everything's closing up here near the highs, and the lows are getting a little higher. That's a good sign that we may push on through. You don't know that, but that's just a clue that you might hang on if you got a runner going, and see what happens. And of course, where does it go? Right to our measured move. Missed it by a tick, right to the previous high, and then it starts working down. And you got a little channel working down. You did get a two-legged correction here with a close outside, but then look at that big bearish bar when it shot through right there. This is not a really good setup, but notice this is really congestion, and this is that little failed breakout. So you look for a measured move like that. You would have got a quick scalp, and then that would have been it. And if you wanted to re-enter here, you could, because now you got a failed second entry long. Everything's below the EMA. You would think it's going here. It doesn't, but you still get enough to get a scalp out of it, and then it reverses. And there's a possible long there, but I think you were better off waiting on a second entry. And notice that you got a nice little channel working up, pull back first entry, but there's not a whole lot of room back before that little high right there. The main thing is it's a first entry. There's a good chance, I thought we were probably coming here, so there's a good chance you might get trapped and it turned down or something. But it ends up going on higher. I just don't, I guess if you entered there because of the midline, there's some reasons you might consider, but the fact that this is an inside bar, it couldn't break above that. There's just a lot of different reasons that I didn't like that one. If you waited on it to break higher and dropped a limit order in there, maybe. But I think you were better off just to sit tight and wait and see if you don't get a short up here. And notice that's two legs up, and then look at that big bearish bar. The only reason I don't like this one, I didn't make it red because it's the first entry counting off the high. It's a big bearish bar. It's really large. It's also an inside bar to this. So that makes you wonder. If you did enter, you really had to try to use a limit order, a tick in, or maybe right there at the highs, and it couldn't even get back but a tick, and then it drops on down. So, but if you didn't enter there, look, notice how it went on through the EMA. That's another reason, because you're going short right into the EMA, and there's a chance that it finds a little resistance there, and it did temporarily with that little. That's why you have that doji there, but it didn't last long at all. Then it shoots on through and pulls back and tests it. I like that one for a short. Looking for another leg down, and this time thinking, hey, we're probably going to get to here, or get down to the, all the way down to the other side, which would have been right across here at that point. You wouldn't have, you would have been looking for something to happen here if you came this far. But I would just, and notice how it bounced early, and one reason it does that is buying started coming in right here. People now realize that this is a strong support, and they know prices are probably going to bounce there. They recognize this double bottom, that you may get a little failed break lower. There's several reasons why, just all that buying picks up right there, and that's it. And you get a temporary bounce, but it doesn't go far, and then it's heading lower again. So anyway, I don't think you can go short till you come back up here, and you get a little second entry right here, and notice how it's acting as resistance right there again. You generally come back and retest those. I'm sorry, I had a little interruption there. I think we were talking about this trade right here, and then we came back, and this really set the trend line. This confirmed it, so you really could go short right there. The only reason I didn't circle that one is all of the overlap. Notice all the bars stacked up there. We are below the EMA, and we're coming back and testing it. So when it broke lower and turned back up, I would have liked it better if it broke higher first, but it couldn't because of the trend line. And when it turned back down, it's similar to a failed second entry long, so I like that one. Figuring that we're probably going to get another leg, because that's a fairly bearish leg. When you get one that bearish and then a two-legged correction, the first thing I'm thinking is a measured move, and so you'd want to measure that one. It is into this support here, so you might have tried to enter with a limit order, but I'm guessing if you did, you would have missed that one. And you can see where the measured move is, and that's exactly pretty much where we bounced. It went a little bit lower, but that's where you found the support temporarily. And so that turned out to be a pretty nice trade. So, and again, you looking at that like a failed second entry long is what you're looking at. And again, you might have considered going short there. I definitely would have used a limit order there because of all the overlap. Because remember what happens when you break out of a range or congestion. Most of the time, it very rarely shoots off like that. It almost always breaks out, fails, snaps back, and then if it's going to go a little lower, then it turns and goes lower. And I alluded to it earlier, but I think I switched gears too quickly. Is remember, prices are always testing previous areas. So when we broke through here, even if it's going to go lower, what do you expect to happen? You expect it to fail temporarily and pull back and test that before it goes lower. And that's why they trapped a lot of people right there, because a lot of people thought, hey, it's pulling back, it's going to test this area, and look, it failed, it's going to go lower, it's going to be a breakout pull back short well, that'd be a first entry, I'm sorry. It's not a second entry, because if you count from here, your second entry was here, which you definitely don't want to enter there. But this was really tempting. And if you did go short there, when it turns back up, you just got to exit. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for prices to come back and test previous areas. And notice what happens when it broke through this area before it went higher. It comes back and tests it and then goes higher. And then look what happens when it breaks through this area. It pulls back and tests it and then goes higher. And it looks like it's going to do that again. But when it came back through here, what does it do? It pulls back, tests it, and then goes higher. And then what happens when it comes back through here? It pulls back and tests it, then it goes lower. So remember that. Look what happens when it breaks through. It breaks through here. It goes lower, but it fails, comes back, it tests it twice. If it wasn't so late in the day, that's a sure short right there. That's that double test of that area, and it's holding. So go short. And so that's what prices do. They're constantly, consistently and constantly going, and they'll keep going higher until they find a resistance area that it doesn't uh, that it can't get through, and that turns it back down. Then it'll go lower till it finds a support area it can't get through, and then it'll try to go higher. And look what they did. It looked like it wasn't going to get through right here, but it does. It traps people and goes lower. So that's why if you draw your other trend lines, it really, really helps. So not much more you can say about today, and just generally lately, it's been a whole lot of this right here, just rangy looking price action, and it may stay this way a while. We've had a really big move. I mean, it looked like, everybody thought the bull market was over again. You hear that over and over, and I talked about it all during January, or all during the big sell-off, that, hey, eventually we're going to find that spot like it does every time, and we're probably going to go higher again and make a new high. Was it happens? It wasn't long. We made a new all-time high in this market, and so eventually it won't come back. But lately, that's been the MO every time, and I think it was about the same day that I said that it reversed, or the next day, and it was rocketing higher again. So this market just won't quit, although it does find some periods where it's just slow and methodical. But we've had a big move up, and we're in uncharted territory up here, and so it may continue to be this way for a while. But anyway, good trades today. Hope you had a good trading day. Hope you've had a good week. The sun's shining here today. The snow's melted. The roads are clear. I hope we're really close to springtime and summer around here. But I had a semi-short week because of the weather, and I think the market took a breather as well, maybe because of the weather also. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, start my weekend. Hope you do the same. We'll be back next week to do it again. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.